Alright folks, how you doing? So, I shot Ged an email last night with the 4 Ged Skeptic Rebuked videos that I've made on the channel here, because I wasn't sure if he's seen them or not. I mean, I don't know how YouTube really works. I mean, when you add tags to people get like notifications in their emails or whatever, such and such mentioned you in this video. I presumed that's what was happening, but apparently not. It seems like he hadn't seen these videos, so basically I emailed him because I wanted him to be aware that I made these videos because they're about him and they're about his claim that King Edward Plantagenet, the first of England, Longshanks, had a more legit claim on the Scottish throne than King Robert the Bruce, which still sounds bizarre to me. How he came to that conclusion, I don't know. Anyway, I left this comment in part 2 saying, all you're doing is reading bits of books, but I'll continue. Something like that, words to that effect. And I'm just looking at that like, oh yeah, I mean, what did you think I was going to do if I'm rebuking your argument, or if I'm rebuking any argument for that matter? I'm going to do research. I'm going to go on the internet. I'm going to go on Google or Bing or whatever, and I'm going to read books if I happen to have them in front of me, believe it or not, looking for information, because I disagree with your point of view, which, is fair enough, or should be. So yeah, of course I'm reading bits of books. I mean, what are you talking about, Ged? Of course I am, because it's through books that you gain knowledge and information, or through the internet, or some other kind of source, medium, I don't know how you get information, Ged. Do you get it in a dream? Does it come to you through your pineal gland and you just wake up and, I need to write that down? Okay, that, do you smoke something and it just appears before you in a puff of smoke? What are you talking about? Of course I'm reading bits of books, and by the way, it's not bits of books, it's bits of one book. Can't even get that part right. Bloody hell. It's one book, William Wallace, Robin Hood Revealed. And if you look in the description, Ged, I've actually posted a link to where you can get this book. I went that far with trying to illustrate the source that I'm using. There's only, I think, one video where I used another source, and that was William Wallace, Braveheart by James Mackay, which I've got on the floor sitting over there. I've also got a third book on Wallace, The Wallace by Blind Harry. It's sitting over there somewhere. But yeah, I mean, of course I was using books. Where are you coming from, Ged? What are you talking about? I've only seen you reading bits of books. Well, I can't read the whole book. That would be a little bit of a stretch. So I'm going to have to be a little bit selective and read a part of a book to support my argument. And by the way, those 4 videos were structured into 4 separate, assertions, if you want to say that. 4 different ways of coming at this original video that he put out, like 4 different angles upon the same subject. So, like, for example, part 1 was quite broad and general in terms of how medieval kingship would work. Part 2, let me have a look. What did I say in part 2? Part 2 was about Plantagenet conspiracies and the Scottish economy, and then part 3 was about something else. Let me have a look. Yeah, part 3 was about how King Edward interfered with the Scottish records, and then part 4 was just before the Battle of Biggar, when King Edward tried to buy William Wallace and bring him into his service, promising him like a wage and how he'll grant him all these things, and Wallace just tell him to shove it, basically. You will be put out of Scotland or die. I remember that as an exact quote. So Wallace, was saying directly to King Edward, you have no right to the Scottish throne. So if you're saying that King Edward Longshanks had the right to the Scottish throne, then you're going to have to completely debunk what William Wallace was saying, on top of proving that Robert the Bruce was illegitimate, which is really odd, because the thing is, through his bloodline, let me have a look here. Okay, so if we look at the ancestry of King Robert the Bruce, the first of Scotland, through his father, grandfather, great-grandfather, so through his great-grandmother, who was Isabel of Huntington, let's have a look at her family tree. Through her great-grandfather, King David I of Scotland, 1080 to 1153, we see that through Isabel of Huntington, King Robert the Bruce does in fact have a legitimate royal bloodline. So this is going back quite a few generations, so that was his great-grandmother, who was the great-granddaughter of King David I. Now, the reason I bring that up is because Ged was arguing that Edward Longshanks had an ancestral connection to Malcolm Canmore, the King of Scots. But so does Robert Bruce, so how does one qualify and one not qualify if they're both descended from the House of Canmore? I just demonstrated it there, through King David I. He was a descendant of the House of Canmore. So how is one Canmore legitimate and another Canmore not legitimate? It just seems like you're picking and choosing here. It's bizarre. I don't get this argument. I can't wrap my head around where he's coming from at all. Again, you're not making any sense, mate. You're giving me a headache with this stuff. What are you talking about? Are you just being stubborn at this point? Because I've obviously did the research, reading bits of the book, as you put it. William Wallace, Robin Hood Revealed. Oh, by the way, just a little segue on that. I went to my neighbour the other day. He's a very skilled carpenter and he knows how to fix things. He wasn't home at the time. Then I got talking to his wife, and I was talking to her on her doorstep for like an hour. I'd only come over to ask him if he can come over and fix something. Like, that's it. I was talking to her for an hour, and I told her about this very same book, by the way. By the end of the conversation, she said, I would love to get that book. I said, well, okay, but it's expensive. She said, I don't care, I want to get that book on it. Right. Then I forgot about it. I was out cutting my grass today, mowing the lawn. She came up to me with money in her hand and put it in my hand and said, remember and get me that book. This book that Ged thinks, like, whatever he thinks, who knows, right? Talked to my neighbour, went over, 2 minutes, I was thinking. 60 minutes later, get me that book. Comes up to me the day, puts the money in my hand, get me that book.